All right, we'll say good evening. Baruch Hashem. We are well on our way to finishing the Masechta. Yes, it's going to be a Tuesday night. It will be a Tuesday. A Tuesday. I'm going to keep it on a Tuesday. Just hold future Tuesdays if it's Hashem. I'll say so. We are on that. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. This Gemara is so good. It's so good. See, Chaim, you don't get it. It's like gulping fine wine. See, Rashi.
You don't gulp with fine
wine. Right, correct. Rashi, you could just gulp down, right? But this Gemara is like fine wine. All right, as well as so we are on Nun Vav Amud Beis. Sorry about last night. I hope everybody got a chance to listen to the shir. So we are up to Nun Vav Amud Beis 56 V's. Actually, again, I purposely got to the period. So over here, it's a new sugya. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down from the top, middle of the line. 4 words from the end of the 4th line down. Shal ben Dama ben Achos Rabbi Shmuel. So we'll say, so again, continuing on the topic of dreams. So Ben Dama, right? So Ben Dama, the son of the sister of Rabbi Shmuel, asked Rabbi Shmuel the following question. So in other words, Rabbi Shmuel's nephew asked him the following question. I saw in a dream that my jaws literally fell off. That's a reference to, again, two Roman, literally Gedudim means 2 Roman groups. But Pashtos, it means like 2 Roman officers of two legions, of 2 groups, were plotting against you, and they died. So obviously the image over here is the jaw representing speech. So these guys were planning against you, and their jaws fell off. They died. Amar le bar Kafra, the Rebbe, Ra'isi chot mishenasha. So we'll say some more examples. So Bar Kafra said to Rebbe, I had a dream. These are all dreams, and in my dream my nose fell off. Amar le charon af nislait mincha. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was angry at you, but then his anger was appeased. So anger in biblical Hebrew is called charon af. Charon af. So the af fell off. It means the anger subsided. I saw in my dreams that my 2 hands were cut off. You're going to be so wealthy, you don't have to work. The hands represent work. You're going to be so wealthy. I saw in my dream that my 2 legs, my 2 feet were cut off. That shows you're going to be riding on a horse. You don't need your feet. You don't need your feet in order to walk. I saw in my dream that someone said to me, you're going to die in Adar and you won't see Nisan. Ultimately, again, it means that you will die in glory. Adar means like Hadar. You will die in glory. In other words, you'll be elevated to a position and you'll die in glory. And ultimately, again, and when it says you won't see Nisan, it means you won't see Nisayon. You won't be tested with difficult circumstances in life. I'll say, by the way, what's incredible about all of these Gemaras in general is just about how you look at all of these things, and obviously they're terrible, right? You can imagine you have a dream that your feet are chopped off, that your hands are chopped off, but what's just so incredible is that the ability to see positive interpretations in negative circumstances. That is such a tremendous theme in all of these Gemaras, the ability just to see the positive in the midst of all the negative. Amalei Hut Stuki, what's the incredible Gemara? There was a certain Stukim. Now remember again that Stukim did not believe in Torah Shabbat. They did not believe in the oral law, and as such, they weren't generally very antagonistic to the Rabbanim. So Amalei Hut Stuki, Rabbi Shmuel, Reisi Shani Mashke Shemen Lezesim. So this guy said, I had an interesting dream. In my dream, I was infusing oil into the olives. You hear this? In other words, not squeezing oil out of the olives, but infusing oil into the olives. Rabbi Shmuel said to him, Amarle Ba'al Imo, you had relations with your mother. You committed incest. In other words, so we'll say, so just like the child comes out of the mother, so the oil comes out of the olive. So the imagery of the oil being inserted back into the olive was an imagery of incest. So Rabbi Shmuel says to the guy, Baal Imo. Now we'll say, here's what's interesting is the way it sounds like over here is that Rabbi Shmuel is not talking directly to the tzduki, but rather talking about the tzduki. We'll see from the Gemara later on that he's really talking to the tzduki. So Baal Imo. Amarle, Chazai de Katef li Kuchva. So again, this Tzeduki guy had a lot of dreams. He says, in my dream, I grabbed the star. Amarle Bar Yisrael Ganafta. You went ahead and you kidnapped the Jew. Remember, Jews are compared to the stars. Taking of a star, you kidnap the Jew. Amrlei chazoi de balasi l'kochva. In my next dream, or next part of the dream, I dreamt that I swallowed the star. Amrlei bal Yisrael zabinte va'achalta lidamei. You kidnapped the Jew, you sold him, and you spent all the money already. Amrlei chazai eni dinashkon. In my dream, I saw that my eyes kissed each other, which just literally means I saw that like my eyes became one big eye. My eyes were next to each other. Amrlei ba'alachoso. That means you had relations with your sister. In other words, that the eyes, which the Rashi points out, like are identical to each other, represent siblings. You had relations with your sister. Amrlei chazai dinashki sira. I had a dream that I kissed the sun. Amrlei ba'al ishes Yisrael. You must have had relations with a married Jewish woman, because Jews are compared to the moon. So you kissed the moon, you had relations with a married woman. Amrlei chazoi didarichna betuna da'asa. I saw that I was walking in the shade of a palm tree. Amrlei ba al na'ara ha'me'urasa. You had relations with a betrothed nara. So Rashi points out over here, what's this one? So this one ultimately again is that they used to make chuppahs out of palm branches for a nara, for a girl who was getting married the first time. Amrlei chazai tuna me'ilai v'hu mitasai. I saw the shade was on top of me, but it was really on the bottom of me. Amrlei mishkava hafach. That you had relations with this girl in reversed positions. Amrlei chazai orvai dahadri leporia. I saw ravens. In my dream, I saw ravens around my bed. Amrlei ishtecha zinsa me'anashim harbe. So the bed represents your wife. The ravens represent a whole bunch of other men. Your wife had extramarital affairs with other men. Amrlei chazai yone dahadri leporia. I saw doves around my bed. Amrlei nashim harbe timesa. Rabbi Shmuel says to this tzeduki, you had relations with a lot of other women. Amrlei chazoi dinake treyoni uparachan. In my dream, I had two doves, and they flew away. Amrlei tarti nashi nasbos upatrisan below get. You're married to two women, and you quote unquote divorced them without a get. Amrlei chazoi de kalifna bay. So it's interesting. So the last part of the dream. So it's quite a dream. Right, so, this is incredible. This is like overwhelming stuff. So the Tzduki says in my dream or less, and I both say now again, whether or not these were separate dreams or all part of one dream, it's all taking part in one conversation. In this dream, I saw myself peeling eggs. Amrlei shichvi kameshlachas. You take clothing from corpses. So I'll say the idea over here of the egg, remember again, is the food of the avel. So the removal of the peel of the egg represents that this guy stole clothing from corpses. So we'll say, now listen to this, all right? Rabbi Shmuel gives this guy this whole interpretation. And what is he? Rabbi say, it's incredible. Amrlei kulu isnobi. Rabbi Shmuel, you're spot on. Spot on. I did all of that stuff. I did all of that stuff that you described. Bar mehad delese. Except for taking clothing off corpses. In other words, come on, I would never do that. And others will say, what's fascinating about this Gemara is so fascinating, which is, they will say, all of us have that thing that we would never do. Right? Now, everything else I will do. But we all, in other words, human nature is, we allow ourselves to engage in certain behaviors, even though I know that they're wrong. But I draw a line. There are certain things that I would never ever do. So this guy says, I did all this stuff, incest, adultery, all this other stuff, but taking clothing from a corpse, that's where I draw the line. That I would never do. But watch, it's not finished. Adahachi v'hachi, as Rabbi Shmuel is having this discussion with this tzeduki, asya hai isisa, so a woman walks by, va'amralei, hai galime demachsas gavre ploni. She says to the tzeduki, that cloak that you're wearing is not yours. That was from a guy who died, and you took the cloak off his corpse. Amrlei chazoi de amrli shavok lecha. Okay, fine. So we'll say, so what do you see from this? So it turns out he did strip the corpses. We'll say, what do you learn from that? What you learn from that is, the moment that you give yourself the license to engage in certain behaviors, it's only a matter of time until it snowballs, it escalates, and you engage in other behaviors. You know, we all like to pretend that we could draw a line. And this is it. I'll allow myself to go until here, but no more. Not the way it works. You know, the Gemara says that once a person sins, nasis lo keheter, it becomes like it's permitted. So the Gemara says, permitted? The Gemara says, no, it becomes like it's permitted. Once we let down our guard and we allow ourselves to do certain things, then at the end of the day, it's only a matter of time until I trample upon other prohibitions. I want to say, this is what the most, so you say to yourself, okay, that's very nice, but I'm not going to stop sinning. You know, I'll say, here's what's fascinating. You know, the ikra avoda in life, and that's going to sound strange, is not necessarily to stop sinning. The ikar avoda of life is to always remain aware that you are sinning. The most dangerous thing in life is not to sin. The most dangerous thing in life is when I sin and then I rationalize and pretend that it wasn't a sin. That's when I get myself in trouble. In other words, if I'm honest with myself and I say, I know I'm doing certain things. I know. And I own it. I know it's wrong. I'm not going to rationalize it. I'm not going to pretend it's okay. I'm not going to ascribe it to a different hashkafa or a different ism. It's wrong. I'm an imperfect person who doesn't yet have control over this area of my life. You know what the Baruch Hu says to you? Shkoyach. Shkoyach, not for the continued sin, but at least you know where you're holding. And as long as I know where I'm holding, there is a probability, not even a possibility, that I'm going to turn myself around. The greatest danger is when we convince ourselves that the wrongs that we commit are not wrong. And if you're really good, by the way, if you're really talented, you can even convince yourself that your wrongs are actually mitzvahs. Right? Then that's dangerous. Because the moment that I begin to delude myself into thinking that averos are mitzvahs or averos are mutar, that's when tshuva becomes almost impossible. If I'm going to sin, the avod is just to recognize and to be honest about what it is that I'm doing and hold myself accountable. Maybe I can't change it, but let me at least create accountability. So the Gemara goes weiter.
Didn't the Gemara say that every dream has some part of which is false?
There are different opinions.
Okay.
Different opinions. So again, we've seen three different approaches so far. Approach number one is that dreams are meaningless. Right? Approach number two is that dreams are meaningful, but even if they're meaningful, every dream has elements that are simply nothing or false or just empty. And approach number three is kol hachalomos holchen achar hapeh. The interpretation of all dreams goes after the interpretation.
But this wouldn't go like any of them because this is saying every single thing was true.
All right, so this could be, in other words, it could have been that there are certain things. In other words, I don't know if that he told him everything. Maybe what he told him was true. There could have been other elements of the dream that he didn't retell him that weren't true.
I wasn't really interpreting it. We doing Gemaras where I had a dream and it says, it means this is going to happen.
Right.
This
is retrospective, correct. Correct. This is retrospective. And I think that's why also the Gemara introduces us to this idea that this was a tzeduki. So part of this was Rabbi Shmuel discrediting this individual as well. You purport yourself as a religious authority that you reject Torah Shabbat Peh. Let's talk about who you really are. Yes, so this is a different kind of dream interpretation. Retrospective instead of prospective. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, so apparently he's not finished yet. Amarle, I will say, what's also incredible about this is, you would think that if you were a person who did all of these things, you'd have at least enough common sense to what? Stop, right? You hear this, sometimes you have conversations like this with people and you cannot believe what's coming out of their mouth, and they clearly don't understand what's coming out of their mouth. Please, just stop. Just be self-aware enough just to know, stop. So it's incredible, right? In other words, Rabbi Shmuel is telling it as he's unfolding it. So you would think, after the incest one, probably better. It's usually incest is a good place to stop. That's a good place to draw the line and say, this conversation is probably not good. But it's fascinating. This guy, which also shows you, that again, people sometimes are just totally unapologetic about the way that they live, about who they are, about what they're doing. It's just fascinating. So let's finish up. The Gemara says as follows. So the Gemara says, good. So he said, in my dream, I saw that someone told me, your father left you property in Kaputkia. So he says, does your family have any holdings in Kaputkia? Lav. He said, no, we don't have anything. Did your father ever travel to Kaputkia? Lav. He said, no. Imkain, kafa kishura, daika asara. So it must be a code. Kafa means a beam. Daika means 10. Zil chaze kafa deresh asara, shimalei zuzi. Go into your house, find the 10th beam, right? The 10th beam that sits upon 9 other beams. That beam must be hollowed out and there must be money inside. Sure enough, azol ashkach shehimalei zuzi. Ultimately, again, he went and he found that the hollowed beam, in fact, had money. So there's much to say on all of these Gemaras. It could very well be say that also there's a profound lesson to be learned in this as well, which is this guy, this tzeduki, clearly was incredibly hollow, right? Spiritually hollow, right? Spiritually empty. I'll say the incredible part is that even a hollowed out person still has value on the inside. He just has to choose to access it. Even someone who could be clearly so bereft of anything holy and spiritual, if you look hard enough inside yourself, you're willing to turn yourself around, you could find the hidden treasure which exists within. All right, we have to stop here for tonight. Shkoyach, everyone. Same time tomorrow.